Welcome to episode 14 of Traveling Science. G'day legends, welcome back to Traveling Science, the podcast that's sharing science with the world. My name's Jesse Crow and I'm the Traveling Scientist, coming to you today from my home in Aireys Inlet, Australia. I'm a health science communicator, and on this podcast I interview doctors, researchers and experts, hearing their stories and sharing their ideas that can help us to live smarter, happier and healthier lives. However, every now and then I do a little solo episode about something that I'm super interested in, something that I think needs to be explored and discussed, and something that I just can't find an expert in, at least not yet. And this week I'm going to be focusing on insomnia. What is it, what causes it, and what can we do about it? I'm going to discuss several research papers around insomnia, looking at the science behind this sleep disorder, and I'm going to share a number of science-based techniques that you could apply to reduce the severity of your insomnia and improve your sleep. And we all know how important sleep is for our physical health and our mental health. We need to sleep a lot. And we spend about 1/3 of our life trying to sleep. And I know that some people will try for less and argue that you can sleep when you're dead. Well, science has really shown that if you take this approach and try to get through life with minimal sleep, it will drastically reduce your lifespan. Trust me, you're much better off getting a good night's sleep as often as possible. But if you struggle with insomnia, this can be a challenge. Therefore, the aim of this discussion is to shed some light on the subject of insomnia, so that you might improve your own chances of a good night's sleep. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about insomnia. What is insomnia? Well, insomnia is a common sleep disorder that can make it hard for someone to fall asleep. It also makes it difficult to stay asleep, and it can cause you to wake up at inappropriate times and then struggle to get back to sleep. You know, like when you get into bed but you just can't fall asleep. Or when you wake up and it's like 3 a.m. and you cannot get back to sleep. You're just lying there, awake, thinking but not sleeping. This leaves you feeling like actual hot garbage during your waking life. You're tired, you feel fatigued, and this can have a huge impact on your mood, your health, your job, your relationships. It basically ruins your whole life. Coincidentally, I've been up all night researching insomnia, so I know how it feels. And if you suffer from insomnia, there's a number of serious symptoms. You might have reduced memory, you could have trouble concentrating or focusing, you might struggle with motivation, you might have some serious headaches, and you'll probably feel more irritable and less pleasure or happiness. You'll become more stressed, which I'm going to touch on in a moment, and physically you'll have reduced energy and you'll act more clumsy, putting yourself at increased risk of injury. So overall, if you have insomnia, you just feel like crap. And if you can relate to any of this, chances are you're struggling with some sort of insomnia. Or it could be something else, but if it is insomnia, maybe there's something we can do about it. Well, how do you know whether or not you actually have insomnia? And you might be thinking, sometimes I have trouble sleeping, but usually I'm fine. Do I have insomnia? Well, insomnia is officially diagnosed if you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep for at least 3 nights a week. And if this insomnia persists for longer than 3 months, it's considered chronic insomnia. If you have difficulty falling and staying asleep for a few nights per week, but it's only for a small number of weeks, then it can be considered acute or short-term insomnia. But if you don't fall asleep straight away on the odd occasion, or sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night, technically this isn't insomnia, but it's still an issue. So whether you struggle with chronic insomnia, acute insomnia, or you just randomly can't sleep sometimes, hopefully this conversation can help you with your sleep issues in the future. And if you're still not sure about whether or not you have insomnia, try keeping a sleep journal in which you record your sleeping patterns on a day-by-day basis. What time you went to sleep, what time you woke up, did you wake up in the middle of the night, did you struggle with sleep? Keep track of your sleep schedule and also include any information that might impact your sleeping patterns. Things like caffeine or alcohol intake, any stressful situations that occurred. And over time, you'll start to build a good record of how your sleep is tracking. And this could be a great tool for you to use, not only for yourself to improve your future sleep, but also for a doctor who could use this information to potentially give you an official diagnosis of insomnia or some type of treatment if it was required. But how many people have insomnia? Well, many sleep scientists agree that about 1/3 of people will suffer from insomnia at some point in their lives, and about 10% of people have chronic insomnia that is consistently ruining their sleep. Furthermore, studies have shown that women are more likely to suffer from insomnia than men, and this could be due to hormonal differences, but it could also be due to sex differences in the brain. And unfortunately, this means that if you are female, you're more likely to deal with insomnia. Insomnia is also more common in older people, so as you continue to age, your propensity to have issues with insomnia increases, which is why I think it's valuable to be discussing it here and now. So if you're one of the many people out there who is struggling with insomnia, let's talk about it. What actually causes insomnia and what can you do about it? Now, it's important to understand that, like most things in science, insomnia is a complicated disorder. It doesn't have a simple cause, nor does it have a simple solution. Rather, insomnia can be contributed to by a number of different factors, in the same way as you could imagine that sleep can be interrupted by a number of different things. Keeping this in mind, I'm going to discuss a number of the main causes of insomnia and why they can have an impact on your sleep. And then I'm going to share a number of possible solutions that you could use to potentially address those causes of insomnia, thereby reducing their impact on your sleep. Now, some of these causes and solutions for insomnia, I'm sure you've already heard of, but hopefully there are some that you might not have considered, and ideally you'll be able to identify which factors are most likely to be contributing to your insomnia, and then take the appropriate steps to counter those factors and improve your sleep. Furthermore, if you know of any causes or solutions to insomnia, please feel free to share them in the comments section on YouTube if you're watching this as a video. Or if you're simply listening to the podcast version, you can go to the Traveling Scientist YouTube channel and share your thoughts. Or you can just keep them to yourself. Choose your own adventure. Anyway, let's talk about some of the main things that can promote insomnia. And the first one I'd like to talk about is your genetics. Your genes certainly play a role in insomnia, and according to a 2013 study titled The Role of Genes in the Insomnia Phenotype, approximately 1/3 of insomnia is attributable to genetic factors. Unfortunately, there is no insomnia gene. It's not like something you either have or you don't have. But basically, if you do struggle with insomnia, you could argue that it is approximately 1/3 due to your genetics. Or to put it another way, it's 1/6 your mum's fault and 1/6 your dad's fault. But if you're not sure if your insomnia is due to genetic factors, try asking family members. Do people related to you suffer from insomnia? And not like, did they have trouble sleeping once upon a time, but have they ever been diagnosed or treated for insomnia? Do they or did they ever actually have insomnia? If so, it's more likely that you share similar genes and therefore similar sleeping issues. If not, then perhaps genetics isn't the main cause of your insomnia. Either way, genes are the only factor that don't really offer much in the way of a solution. You can't exactly go back in time and change your parents, and we're fairly limited on the ability to change our DNA, although this will likely change in the future. But for now, take solace in the fact that, like I said, only 1/3 of your insomnia is attributable to genetic factors. So there are other contributing causes that you can certainly deal with. The next main cause of insomnia is hunger. And do you know what it's called when you're so hungry that you can't sleep? It's called insomnia. No, but seriously, the next main cause of insomnia is stress. Stress can have a huge impact on your sleep. And whether you're stressed about work or money or relationships, whatever, that stuff will keep you up at night. Now, the problem here is that stress is promoted by a hormone called cortisol, and high levels of cortisol will keep you up at night. And the best way to reduce cortisol and alleviate stress is with a good night's sleep. But counterintuitively, stress makes it difficult for you to get a good night's sleep. And are you starting to see the pattern here? Sleep reduces stress, but stress prevents sleep, and a lack of sleep promotes stress, which further prevents sleep. It's a vicious cycle. So what can we do about stress? Well, last month I did a podcast episode all about mastering your cortisol levels to reduce stress. So if stress is a big problem in your life, my first suggestion would be to consider listening to that episode, which might offer a few tips on how to reduce your stress and improve your sleep cycle. Another solution would be to try meditation, and this can have a twofold effect. First, many studies have proven that meditation can reduce cortisol levels, suppress stress, and improve your sleep. And I've made a video all about the science behind mindfulness and meditation, which I'm going to link in the show notes below. Feel free to check that video out. But second, if you're lying in bed struggling to fall asleep, it can be really effective to use a guided meditation to help you relax and potentially fall asleep. There's actually a free application called Insight Timer, which has a vast collection of guided meditations for any occasion. And if I find myself waking up in the middle of the night and my brain is thinking about anything and everything, I will open it up and search for a sleep meditation. Choose one that goes for maybe 30 minutes. I'll also put some headphones in if I'm sharing the room with anybody, but then I just simply listen and follow along, and quite often I'll suddenly wake up hours later and realize that it worked. The meditation put me back to sleep and I was able to sleep through the rest of the night. So Insight Timer is a great free application that could help you to meditate, lower stress levels, and fall asleep. And there are many other things that you can do to reduce your cortisol and stress levels. Changes in lifestyle and other techniques that I'm not going to get into today. I just wanted to point out that stress is often a leading cause of insomnia. And if that is something that could be impacting your sleep, it's important to be aware of that and look for ways of dealing with it, because less stress equals better sleep, and better sleep equals less stress, and that is what we want. Now, another big cause of insomnia is mental health. Things like anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and there are many other mental health conditions that can contribute to insomnia. And you could just argue that these conditions are causing stress, which is what we just talked about. But I wanted to discuss mental health issues separately because this is not just general stress, it's more specific. Anxiety, for example, can keep you up at night because your monkey mind is thinking about potential problems, worries, concerns for the future, everything. Your brain just won't relax, which makes sleep seem impossible. Conveniently, in episode 8 of the podcast with Dr. Anna Panida, she shares a great method for dealing with anxiety that could really help you in this case. It's basically 3 steps, or 3 A's. The first is awareness, figuring out why you're anxious about something. Then the second step is arguing. Think about why you don't need to feel anxious about that thing and make an argument against it. And then step 3 is action. Move forward with whatever it is you want to do, which in this case, it's sleep. Dr. Anna Panida explains it much better, so go listen to episode 8 of Traveling Science. And another thing you could do is to try writing out a list of your worries and thoughts before you go to bed. Sometimes it feels good to just get all of that stuff out of your head and down onto a piece of paper. Then you can stop repeating it in your head and just deal with that stuff in the morning. And depression is another common mental health disorder, which for some people causes them to sleep too much. But for others, it can seriously interfere with your sleep. And I've made several videos that touch on depression, what causes depression, treatments for depression, and also various anxiety videos, which I'll link in the show notes below. So yeah, I talk about mental health a lot on my YouTube channel, partly because it's something that I've struggled with myself, and partly because I think it's only becoming more common and people need to be open to talking about it and finding ways of dealing with it. That being said, one of the most effective treatments for both mental health issues and for insomnia is therapy, specifically cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. CBT involves regular sessions with a therapist or a trained expert, having conversations that focus around restructuring your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that could be contributing to your insomnia. And most people who try CBT for their insomnia will see some improvement in their sleep patterns. Whether they struggle with acute or chronic insomnia, this type of intervention can have a huge impact on overall quality of life. So whether you are struggling with mental health or insomnia, if it's causing problems in your everyday life, consider talking to a doctor about organizing some cognitive behavioral therapy because it could change your life. Okay, another thing that could be causing your insomnia is drugs. Whether you're taking prescription medication or just casually ingesting some non-prescription drugs, they are likely having some effect on your sleep cycle. By medications, I'm talking about things like blood pressure tablets or those pills you take when you have cold or flu-like symptoms. These things can have side effects that could be keeping you up, and if you're concerned that that could be the case, don't just Google it, because almost every medication on the market will say side effects include blah, 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 everything and anything, and it'll just freak you out. Instead, talk to your doctor about whether or not a certain medicine might be keeping you up, and if so, perhaps there is an alternative treatment that won't trigger insomnia. Now, by non-prescription drugs, I'm talking about things like alcohol, cigarettes, and caffeine. People, caffeine is a drug that prevents sleep and promotes anxiety. So many people seem to forget that caffeine gives you a boost of energy. So yes, by all means, drink it in the morning. But if you're one of those people who's drinking an espresso before bed, I'm sorry, you're insane. You might say that it doesn't affect you, but trust me, it does. According to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, the average half-life of caffeine in the body is 5 hours. That means if you drink a coffee at midday, there's probably still a quarter of that caffeine in your system having its energizing effects at 10 p.m. at night. And if you drink a coffee at 10 p.m. at night, or a tea, some people seem to forget that tea has caffeine as well, or even if you're consuming an energy drink later in the day. Even if you are able to fall asleep afterward, that caffeine will be having an impact on your sleep architecture, reducing the amount of restful sleep you're able to achieve. So if you're having trouble sleeping, try to drink less caffeine in the afternoon and avoid it completely after dark. Alcohol is similarly detrimental to your sleep, and most people know that alcohol is classed as a depressant because it makes you more tired, right? Well, that may be the case, but it certainly doesn't improve your sleep quality. And if you're drinking alcohol regularly, or even just having a few drinks at a party, you can bet that you won't be getting a good night's sleep after consuming alcohol. Even if you're in bed for 8 hours or more, the alcohol, like caffeine, interrupts the restful sleep, leaving you feeling like a hot mess the next day and contributing to that nasty hangover. So if you drink alcohol, cutting back could certainly be a great idea for treating your insomnia. Finally, smoking and vaping could also be contributing to your insomnia. And this is because the stuff you're smoking usually contains nicotine, another drug that is both stimulating and addictive. And there's probably a whole bunch of other chemicals in there that are negatively impacting your health too. And I'm hoping to speak with an expert soon about the science of smoking and vaping. But in the meantime, know that if you do it, it could be promoting insomnia. So try finding help, reducing or stopping it altogether, and this will benefit your sleep greatly. There's also plenty of illicit drugs that we could touch on here, but I just don't have time to get into all of that today. Suffice it to say that if you're taking any other sorts of drugs, they are likely to be impacting your sleep in some way. And it's important to consider that and consider whether or not it's worth the cost to your health by using those illicit substances. Just think about it. Another big cause of insomnia is pain. Pain might be keeping you up at night, whether you have an injury, back pain, period pain, or any type of chronic pain. This can have a huge impact on your ability to sleep. And again, an important part of treating pain is with sleep. But if the pain is preventing you from sleeping, we have another serious insomnia issue. If the cause of pain is temporary, like a body ache or a minor injury, then perhaps pain medication can be a helpful solution. I've certainly always found that if I can't sleep because of some pain, like a headache, a simple painkiller like acetaminophen or paracetamol can suppress the pain enough to help me fall asleep. And then the act of sleeping is able to further treat that pain, allowing me to wake up painless. Unfortunately, this solution is not so helpful when it comes to chronic pain, because painkillers only offer temporary relief, and they're not great for you either. Taking painkillers regularly can be damaging to your gut lining, as well as taxing on your liver and kidneys during elimination. So sufferers of chronic pain need to find other ways of dealing with this by speaking with their doctor and looking towards a more effective long-term treatment of that pain, whether it's therapy or surgery. Hopefully, by dealing with the cause of the pain, this will lead to improved sleep, which will in turn contribute to the overall healing process. Obviously, chronic pain is both common and complicated, and again, not something we can fully cover here and now, but hopefully if it is an issue for you, I sincerely hope that you can find a solution to your pain in the near future. And the final cause of insomnia that I want to touch on today is screen time. And don't you hate this one? I mean, as you probably already know, blue wavelengths of light keep you up. They make your brain think that it's daytime, which suppresses the release of melatonin, which is your natural sleep hormone. Melatonin is supposed to be released when it's dark, and it helps your body to wind down and prepare for bed. But if you stay up till 1 a.m. watching videos of orangutans yeet possums through the air, or you're rewatching Breaking Bad because it's awesome, you're basically telling your brain that you don't want to sleep. Now, there are a few possible solutions for you here. The first one is the obvious one, and you won't like it, but try to reduce the amount of backlit devices that you're using in the evening time. And by backlit devices, I mean anything that has a screen with a light behind it. So your TV is an obvious one. Your phone, your laptop, your tablet, even ebooks are backlit nowadays. These devices are shining light directly into your eyes, telling your brain and body to stay awake. Even if you do sometimes fall asleep in front of a screen, it's not a very healthy way of putting yourself to sleep. And I'm actually guilty of reading my Kindle before bed, which is a backlit device. But my argument is that reading in general makes me sleepy. And I also turn the lights off and put the screen brightness down super low, so the blue light effect is minimal, and this allows me to fall asleep reading a book about magic and dragons. But don't worry about me, worry about yourself. And if you're struggling to sleep at night, but you're staying up super late staring at a screen, put the screen away. Make a rule every night, at least 1 hour before bed, no more screens. Another solution to this blue light dilemma could be taking a melatonin supplement. And I've made a video about melatonin too, the link's in the show notes. But if screen time suppresses melatonin production, then theoretically you could counter that by consuming melatonin in pill form. Now, I'm not saying that you can take melatonin and that would allow you to watch movies up until bedtime, but this is worth a try. And if you want to start taking melatonin to help promote sleep, do me a favor, just talk to your doctor about it first. Finally, if you don't want to give up your technology and you don't want to take any supplements and you love looking like a dork, then you could get a pair of blue blocking glasses. These are special glasses that prevent some of the blue wavelength light from reaching your eyeballs. So you're supposed to wear them while using backlit devices. The lenses are usually orange, they usually cost somewhere upwards of $50, and they are not scientifically proven to work. But the theory behind them sounds believable, so they could have some sort of placebo effect, allowing you to stay up late watching all of the screens and maybe you'll still be able to fall asleep. I've never tried them, but it is an option if you're desperate. Now to finish off today, I have a few general tips that might also be helpful in treating insomnia and helping you to get a better night's sleep. First, let's talk about sleeping medications. If you're having trouble sleeping, you might think that a sleeping pill would be the solution, and indeed they can be helpful in the short term. Similar to how pain pills can be used to treat temporary pain, sleeping pills can be used to treat temporary insomnia. But long-term use of sleeping pills can have a number of negative side effects. Things like excessive tiredness, dizziness, confusion, coordination issues, just to name a few. Furthermore, sleeping pills don't tackle the underlying problems that are keeping you awake. They can be helpful if you're desperate for sleep, but ultimately, sleep medications are a band-aid solution and should not be relied on to treat your insomnia, at least not in the long term. Instead of using pills to help you sleep, try to make sure that your sleeping environment is conducive of good sleep. This means that your bed should be comfortable, your room should be dark, the noise level should be low, and the temperature should be ideal. If your bed is uncomfortable, or if it's so old that you don't remember where it came from, consider investing in a new mattress, new pillows, or new sheets. It's going to make you more comfortable and help you fall asleep easier. As for light, it will naturally stimulate your body to wake up. So if your room isn't dark enough, get some blackout curtains, cover up any little LED lights in your room, put something over that gap under the door. Do whatever you can to keep the room dark while you're sleeping. Noise is another thing that's going to wake you up. So if you have noisy housemates or family members, neighbors, a snoring dog, whatever, tell them to go shove it. Or you could just be nice and get yourself some earplugs. They cost like 50 cents and they just pop right into your ears. And all of a sudden, you can't hear anything. So that's going to help with the noise issue. And temperature is also super important for sleep because when we're asleep, our thermoregulation becomes less effective. We don't sweat or shiver properly and we're more sensitive to the ambient temperature. And according to a 2012 study titled Effects of Thermal Environment on Sleep and Circadian Rhythm, the ideal ambient temperature is 65 degrees Fahrenheit or 18.3 degrees Celsius. This slightly cooler temperature promotes the release of melatonin, which helps us to sleep. And if you're too hot, you won't fall asleep easily, but you'll feel exhausted. You've probably felt this if you've ever holidayed in a tropical country and you try to go to sleep, it's like 100 degrees, and you're just thinking, how do people live like this? It's because it's too hot. So try to keep your room and your bed kind of cool because it will improve your sleep. Also, don't nap. If you're having difficulty sleeping at night, definitely don't sleep during the day, even if you feel tired. By staying awake all day, you will keep yourself tired for the evening, which will help you to fall asleep when you really need to. So if you're an insomniac who naps, stop it. Try to keep a regular sleep schedule. Set yourself a bedtime every evening and a waking up time every morning, and try to stick to that. If you normally go to bed at midnight and get up at 8 a.m., do that every day, 7 days a week. This helps your body get into a circadian rhythm, circadian meaning 24 hours. So your body gets into a habit of sleeping and waking at the same time every day. If you go to bed early on weeknights and stay up late on weekends, or your bedtime changes every single day, you are going to struggle to sleep consistently. So make a sleep schedule, stick to it. Finally, if you've tried all of these things and you're still struggling to sleep, you're just lying there at night thinking about why you can't sleep and getting anxious and knowing how you need to sleep, but you just can't, and you're freaking out, and don't you just hate when this happens? Well, here's the solution. Break the cycle. Get up, go into another room, do something else, like reading, meditating, listening to chill music, whatever. Just do something for 15 minutes. Then go back to bed and try again. By moving into another physical space, you are resetting your thinking patterns and getting out of that anxious mindset, allowing yourself to start your sleep cycle from scratch. And quite often, although it takes you away from your bed for 15 minutes or so, you will fall asleep sooner than if you had stayed in bed thinking about trying to sleep but failing to do so. So try that out next time you just can't sleep. Alright, as I previously stated, insomnia is complex. There is not one cause and there is not one solution. There are many factors that can impact on your sleep patterns. And in this discussion, I've tried to cover a few of the main causes of insomnia, why they promote insomnia, and a number of potential solutions that could improve your sleep quality. And let me finish with a silver lining of sorts. Insomnia might not be all that bad. I know, it sounds bizarre, but hear me out. Research has shown that people suffering from insomnia showed a similar cognitive performance to people who had sufficient sleep. And a few studies even showed that insomniacs actually performed better than their sleep-able counterparts. And they do say that small amounts of stress can help us to improve, so perhaps insomnia can be beneficial in some cases. Still, I'd rather get a good night's sleep than feel stressed and slightly smarter. So, in conclusion, your genetics have some effect on your sleep, but that's not the only factor. Stress is key, so try using meditation to reduce your stress levels and download Insight Timer because it's a great app. Mental health is also a huge factor, so look into cognitive behavioral therapy and try to change your thinking patterns. Drink less caffeine, cut back on alcohol, quit smoking, and don't do drugs. These will all royally mess your sleep. If pain is keeping you up, fix that pain to fix your sleep. And exercise is also super important. I didn't even mention it earlier, but it goes without saying. Regular exercise will help you to sleep. Turn off screens after dark and reduce your light exposure in the evening. Make sure your room is super comfortable and conducive of a good night's sleep. Stick to a regular sleep schedule, quit napping, try taking a melatonin supplement, and try not to rely on sleeping pills. And if you still cannot sleep, try getting up, reset, and start again. I really hope this discussion on insomnia has been helpful to you in some way, and if it has, please leave me a comment on YouTube or a review on Apple Podcasts, and share this episode with anybody you know who struggles with sleep. Finally, at the end of every episode, I always leave you with a little secret, and this week's secret is that I don't think I have insomnia, but I do wake up maybe once per week and struggle to get back to sleep. And the reason for that is because I chug water before I go to bed, and I usually have to get up and pee at like 4 a.m. And then I'm up thinking, what the hell am I doing with my life? Which is a horrifying thought. But I did read once that in caveman times, we naturally woke up in the middle of the night to check that everything was safe in our cave. So that makes me feel good about it, but maybe I would just sleep better if I drank less water before bed. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, thanks so much for listening, legends. Take care, and I'll catch you next Science Sunday. Cheers.